So you got a Supra here, and it's not starting. Cranks, but no start. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of hot spots to check when you have a no start condition. Now this is assuming the timing is set correctly and all of the connectors in the engine harness are plugged in. Okay, and you have fuel. That's a big, that's an easy one. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to pop open our engine bay fuse box here, and we're going to look at the 15 amp EFI fuse here. So that is this guy right there, and if you're lucky enough to have one of the OEM pullers, you can conveniently pull that fuse out, check that fuse. In this case it's good, and you should be you're one step closer. Oh, that's okay. We'll just put that back there. So that's your EFI fuse. That's got power all of the time from the 100 amp guy right there, I believe so. And then this is your EFI main relay. Now this relay only activates when the ECU in the dash tells it to activate. So the power is being held by this relay to go out to the ECU and the various other components that use it, like the O2 sensor and the idle valve. So if you don't hear, if you turn the key and you don't hear or feel this click, that's where the next area I'm going to show you to look for. Now, it could be that this relay's bad. I have seen one of these go bad in my 17 years of messing with the Supra, so that wouldn't be my first guess, is that the relay went bad. But like I said, I have seen one failure, so it's something to consider. All right, moving on. Put this. The next thing we want to check is inside. And that's in our fuse panel right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the little cover off that's got the fuses listed. The one that we care about is the 7.5 amp ignition IGN fuse. So that is a very important fuse to make the EFI relay energize. So the circuit starts here in this panel, goes up to your ignition switch, out of the ignition switch, through the dash, into the ECU, through the B1 connector, I believe. And that's all up in there. So after it gets to the ECU, that circuit says, hey, the key is in the on position, turn on the EFI power. So then out of the ECU, that goes through the engine harness, up to the engine bay, through the C1 connector. And that's what that black with a orange stripe right here, that's what that wire is. That's the MREL wire, main relay. That turns on your EFI relay, which then provides 12 volts positive through that black with a red stripe to turn on, to give power to the ECU itself, and like I said, the other stuff. So if your EFI 15 amp fuse is blown, you won't get power. If your 7.5 amp is blown, you won't get power. There's one other easy way to check. Grab your key. Go ahead and throw that bad boy in there. And right there. If your check engine light does not come on, the MREL, or the main relay in the engine bay, does not have, or is not energized, which means that 7.5 amp may be blown, and it's not, the signal from the key is not turning on the ECU. Okay, now paired with this, assuming you have this light on before you crank, you crank, and it still doesn't start, there's one other check to make sure that you've got fuel. Okay. So with the key in the on position, we're going to come back into the engine bay. We're going to look at the check connector. That's what this is. A lot of times these covers are broke, and if you look inside, we've got a little diagram. So we're looking for the B positive. That's our power from the 15 amp relay here through that fuse, or through that relay from the fuse, going to the C1 connector. It's also up in here for diagnosing issues. So we want that and the FP. So that pin and that pin. So you can use just about anything here. I have the terminal, so I just made this quick little jumper up, and we're going to place a pin. All this grease makes it difficult to figure out exactly where it goes, but it goes there. Okay, so the key is on. As soon as you tap this, you should have fuel pressure. And you can hear it, and you can see on this gauge. Factory, you won't have that gauge, obviously, but you should be able to hear the fuel moving. And if you don't have fuel moving, then your fuel pump's probably bad. Or the fuel pump relay and or resistor is bad, or the wiring's bad, or any number of things. My suggestion, eliminate that, do a 12 volt mod, or 12 volt mod for your fuel pump. Runs nice 10 gauge wires from the battery to all the way back to your fuel pump and hook it up there. Okay, so if you've got fuel pressure and you got fuel and it's still cranking and no start, CPS may be the culprit. A good check for that is to pop a spark plug wire, put a screwdriver in it, look up videos on how to test for spark. Test for that spark. If you don't have spark, then yes, there's definitely something wrong with the CPS or the CPS circuit. And beyond that, there's really not much else to cause these engines not to run. So hopefully this helps, and good luck with your 7Ms.